So that's quite a bit of information about Bitcoins, and we have with us in the studio Richard Odame. He's a cryptocurrency expert here to tell us a bit more about this new, some are calling it a fad. Would it be fair to say that?
Well, I think that unfortunately it's because they don't understand the technology. So, and I think that in a part of the world, it is very normal for people to describe it as they feel. And that is why we'll definitely be laid back in the technology.
Okay, so we have money, CDs, dollars,
Right.
pounds, what have you,
Right.
and there are Bitcoins and other cryptocurrencies.
Right.
What's the difference?
So if we look at the current money that we are using, that is our fiat money, we realize that the value of the money or the money itself is the serial numbers, right? And then the inscription of, say, 50 CD notes is just what shows the value of that inscription. And then what carries the money is actually the fiat or the paper. So if you're holding money, it really doesn't have an intrinsic value. It is because the central government is saying that this is 10 Ghana cedis or 5 Ghana cedis. In the case,
So what you're saying is just a piece of paper that government says is worth this.
Exactly. And you would realize that at every point in time, due to the government's own monetary policies, can say that, okay, we need to print more money. So you realize that more money can be printed into the economy. There can be a lot of income or money supply in the economy. So the question that comes is, what is really the value of money? Because it is unlimited. But if you look at the principle of money, money should actually have a value and should have at least a finite amount. In the case of a cryptocurrency, for example, Bitcoin, that happens to be the mother of all cryptocurrency, it is simply a digital form of money that works with a principle of cryptography, cryptanalysis, and cryptology. To a layman, it is it's a digital form of money that uses or that is backed by demand and supply. So it is not controlled by any central government. It is because a group of people have agreed that this is what they are going to use and this is $1. So in that case, if the value or the demand increases, definitely we know simple demand and supply, the price will increase.
So if more people want Bitcoins, the price of Bitcoin will increase.
Exactly. That means the more usability and relevance it's creating, the price will increase. And when it starts to reduce or people start pulling out, definitely the price will drop.
Okay. So how is this advantageous over the regular money that we use?
Well, one thing about cryptocurrency, for example, Bitcoin, is that it is limited in number. Only 21 million Bitcoins can be produced by 2042. And as you speak, we have about 16.8 million Bitcoins in circulation. So one advantage is that it is limited. As compared to our fiat currency, that is not limited. So
how is that an advantage?
Good. So what serves is that it is difficult for someone to influence it. You cannot sit somewhere in your room and be printing more money. Bitcoin cannot be counterfeited because the protocol has established that, okay, only 21 million can be produced, and it's by this means. So you cannot sit in your own room and try to produce more Bitcoins or produce more cryptocurrencies as compared to our fiat, where some people can stay in their room, produce it, and still spend it in the economy. So maybe they are actually arrested. That is one advantage it's given.
But if someone is smart and is able to produce, first of all, there are people who are being scammed in the system.
Right.
Yes, and if someone is able to beat that protocol,
right,
and is able to produce his version of Bitcoins,
right,
there isn't even that central bank to catch the person or that policing system to catch the person in the first place.
It's close to impossible to produce your own Bitcoin.
Why?
Because the protocol that set up the mining uses cryptology and cryptanalysis. What this means is it's a form of encryption that transmits information of value to only the intended parties. And as you earlier on showed, when it's produced through the process of mining, before you try to produce your own Bitcoin or you even try to attack the protocol, all the miners in the pool realize that somebody is trying to tamper with it. And we have over 1,000 miners in the world. So it is difficult for one person to try and influence all the 1,000 miners scattered all in the world. It is close to impossible. What definitely you can do, what people would do in the case of scamming is to maybe deceive people that I'm going to send you Bitcoin and not send it. That is why definitely there is a need at some point to have regulators regulate exchanges, but not the cryptocurrency or the Bitcoin.
So you believe that exchanges should be regulated, but the currency itself should not be?
I mean, the currency itself cannot be regulated, but the exchanges should be regulated.
But look, these miners who make decisions on the rules governing the exchange of Bitcoin, they are still regulating to an extent, aren't they?
Well, I mean, it's difficult for one miner to influence it. The protocol or the white paper behind every cryptocurrency establishes the concept or how its production should be. So, for example, in the case of Bitcoin, it establishes all the protocol, whether there's going to be a hard fork or whatever, how it should supposed to run. So it is already designed, and that is why the users have agreed to use at every point in time. So yes, the miners may have some control, but it's difficult for just one miner to influence the whole chain.
Okay, you were telling me about how Bitcoin, like any other fiat currency, is based on demand and supply, and the people decide basically how much it's worth. I just saw this online that Stripe, this online payment platform, has stopped accepting Bitcoins as a currency to deal in because they feel that people are looking at this as an asset on its own that they should own rather than a legal tender. Are you not concerned when you see things like this? Would it not affect the popularity of it?
Well, I think that as we speak, Bitcoin, as we can all attest to, it's very volatile. That is why we realize that it traded around $19,700 and dropped to about $11,000. So definitely, the dilemma here is, what if I take Bitcoin when it was $19,000? Within a day, it drops to $11,000. So as we speak now, as we all know, Bitcoin was introduced in 2009. So it is still at its infant or development stage, but at least it shows that it is here to stay. So for now,
How do we know it's here to stay? I mean, yes, it came in 2009, but this spike in its price happened a couple of years ago.
Good. If you follow the protocol, the blockchain protocol, the bedrock of the technology, you'd realize that it is actually going to disrupt a lot of spaces. For example, that's what Bitcoin is doing to the financial and business space. In other sectors, it's going to do marvelous. In the case, the reason why Bitcoin is also going to stay is that if I can transfer money, say over $100,000, and just pay a charge of just $10, why won't people want to use it?
But the price is now the tariffs, if I can call them tariffs.
The mining fees.
The mining fees are now going up, aren't they?
Well, the mining fees went high because there was a lot of traffic in the blockchain. But now, if you go back again and you check, you realize that the mining fees has actually reduced to the initial or how it was previously. So yes, it is a new technology. There are flaws at one point and the other. But we know that definitely it will be better, and trust me, it's going to disrupt a lot of industries.
Well, you speak about disruption of industries, but really, the volatility question has not really been answered, has it?
Well, if you want to look at how volatile it is, you realize that now a lot of exchanges, for example, SME, is actually considering it for its futures and derivatives. So definitely we'll get to the point where Bitcoin will stabilize. Some huge investors and some analysts believe that Bitcoin should be worth $1 million to reach its point of stability. So we all know that definitely we'll get to a point for it to stabilize. But as we speak now, it is still at its infant stage.
So even at $16,000 where it hit last year, it's not...
Bitcoin, trust me, by the end of this year, we should be trading within $30,000 to $50,000.
Okay.
We just hope that the more regulations and legislation comes in, people would appreciate how it works.
Okay. So Richard, tell me how I can buy a Bitcoin or I can get on the market.
Well, buying Bitcoin in Ghana is very easy. Even when you Google Bitcoin merchants or exchanges in Ghana, you get a lot of them. Unfortunately, in Ghana, $1 worth of Bitcoin is expensive. It's about 550 pesos. And trust me, the new communique from the central bank is even going to make it much more expensive. Because now people are either going to hoard it because it's be difficult for you to get it. So what you just do is you have your money and you say, okay, I want to buy Bitcoin. For example, Bitcoin is $11,000 or let's say $10,000 for one. That $10,000 on the market will be within 53,000 to 55,000 cedis. So you meet the exchanger, for example, you tell me you want to buy Bitcoin. You give me the cash and I give you the Bitcoin. Very easy.
You give it to me on my phone or on my computer?
Yeah, so whether on the web or on your phone app. So you first need to download a wallet, a blockchain wallet, and that is how it will be transferred in. And I also take the cash.
Okay, but what about these dangers that are associated with Bitcoin? I mean, you've at a point you mentioned how some people are able to deceive people that I have Bitcoins, they take the money and they don't. But there are also dangers of, being hacked, your systems being hacked, someone getting into your blockchain wallet, you losing your computer. I just read of someone who lost his hard drive and had $9 million worth of Bitcoin on it. And he lost the hard drive.
Well, you realize that it's because at that point, most people didn't know the value of Bitcoin then. For if we had even invested just $100 in Bitcoin in 2010, by now you have nothing no less than $11 million sitting in your account. So when people had Bitcoin in the past very cheap, they didn't know that it was going to have value. So people just played around with it. That is why people actually lost their hard drives and all that. But in terms of hacking, that is why now there's even improved protocol to keep your soft keys such that nobody hacks it. Now there are even offline wallets, paper wallets that you can save your Bitcoin addresses or Bitcoins on. So it is much more safer. The only thing is that there are numerous exchanges. So the more you make your Bitcoin open on an exchange, then you should know that it comes with risks.
So the risks are with the exchanges?
Yes, with the exchange. That is why if you realize that there's been any cyber attack, it's normally on the exchanges, not on the wallets.
Okay. Are there any, with this position that the Bank of Ghana has taken, are there any banks that are defying it and are, dealing in Bitcoin?
Well, in Ghana, I don't know of a bank that deals with Bitcoin. The only thing is that we hope that the central government will be much more proactive in coming up with a regulation, because it's the same thing that happened in Nigeria last year. Because as you sit here, central governments, countries are actually approving, giving license. For example, if you go to South Korea has now given license for exchanges to operate and taxing them 24.2%. That is 22% corporate tax, 2.2% local income tax. So we hope that countries or the central government would be a bit swift in that, or else there'll still be operation, because you can't stop the operation.
Right, Richard Odame, cryptocurrency expert. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A little birdie wants to know how much you're worth in Bitcoin.
Well, well, I mean, I can just say that in terms of Ghana, I'm a bit over $1 million.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Ghana cedis.
Yes, over $1 million Ghana
cedis. Right. So that's Richard Odame, millionaire, cryptocurrency expert. It's also time to talk about some more money. Emmanuel Abajiwe will continue that conversation.